What's the adult version of finding out Santa is not real? That your good health isn't a given. It can be gone in an instant. It's the greatest entitlement until you lose it. Had a social work professor who used to say the disability community is the largest stigmatized community of which anyone can become a member of at any time. Everyone's answer here is dark or existential. So I'll just put this out there. I finally went to Universal Studios as an adult a few years back and found out the old Nickelodeon Studios building has been turned into a generic grey building with no life behind it. I was crushed. Edit. Referring to the one in Florida, of course. This is, by far, the saddest comment yet. To be fair, most of the redditors who read this will have no idea what you're talking about. I saw a picture a little while back. Super disappointing to see it like that. Mail is no longer fun to look at when it's all bills, and no longer birthday / Christmas / etc cards with money. I stopped looking at my mail 2 years ago. Life is much better. If it's size related, I'll find out electronically, but I'm on top of all of that government BS. Working hard but not getting a raise or promotion. I had that. Thanks to the company cracking down on overtime. It was hard to get shifts covered if someone called in sick. There were a lot of times where I was doing 2 or even 3 people's jobs on a daily basis. Did I get a raise or even recognition for my hard work? Of course not. If this wasn't so common, I'd ask if we worked the same place. Realizing that $100 is actually not a lot of money / having $1,000 isn't a lot. Owing $1,000 is a lot. This is the most terrifying and true thing I've seen in a while. Finding out your parents are flawed humans. My parents put on such a polished front stage that it was kinda refreshing when they let their guard down after I moved out. Now I get that they are just real fucking people like anyone else. Hell yeah, man. I look at pics of my folks when they were young and just trip out sometimes, realizing they had the same hopes and dreams and feelings that I did. Becoming an adult and having health problems like a sore back. I thought that only happened when you're 50 plus. My knees gave out at 18. I had to accept that I would never again have a well-functioning body. F-Zero Army. 2020 kicked off with a gout attack in my big toe. I'm 26. No way. Legit, me too. Also 26 and pretty much right after quarantine / work from home hit, I was in immense pain in my right foot. Found out I have gout. Wild. Realizing the chicken hours is the company's pal, not yours. I got thrown into an hour management position at a stupidly young age, 23. I honestly and earnestly thought it was my job to take care of the employees. I approached any issue from the how can I help this person perspective. Then I had to accompany a manager to an unemployment hearing for someone they had fired. A manager who had praised this former employee constantly was doing everything he could to make a previously valued employee get nothing. That's when I realized my view of hours didn't line up with the actual point of hours. Finding out adults aren't real. We're all just trying to figure it out. No adult switch gets flipped. I had a baby 3 months ago. When people ask, what's it like now that you're a mom? I blue screen. I feel zero connection to being a mom. I blue screen. Fucking brilliant. That is all. When a person blue screens, they just need a good reboot. Getting your first adult paycheck and realizing that you can barely scrape by. Oh, the dreams you had. And then looking around and realizing there are 8 of us and 1 manager. So how does upward mobility work? The universe isn't for you or against you. It simply doesn't care about you at all. The world isn't against you, my dear. It just doesn't care. Hey, parts of it do. Even if it's just the parts that are you. For me, it was finding out those HGTV shows are all more or less staged. You think people would lie on TV? Duh. It isn't the internet. People can't lie on the internet. When something goes terribly wrong in your life, and you realize it's not anybody else's fault but your own, or when it's nobody's fault, but you still get to deal with all the s it created, you can play all your cards right and still lose. That's life. Finding out that stripper poles spin in place. rather than the performer sliding around them. Realizing that adulthood doesn't just come with its own iron and ironing board. You gotta get your own. I remember my first time buying a curtain rod. Man, what a rush. Depression. No, seriously, when I was little, I was so confused as to how someone could be so sad all of the time. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do. Can't relate. I've been depressed since childhood. Finding out that your partner has been lying to you the entire time you've been together. It was about that time I began to realize Sheila was actually a 26-foot tall lizard from the Paleolithic era. All that damn macup hides it. Figuring out that finding your person or your soulmate is actually pretty rare and people can fall out of love just as easily as they can fall into it. I usually live by this statement for some years now. Having a significant relationship, getting married and having children does not equal happiness. At least not all the time, and not for everyone. I mean, maybe some people are not cut for that kind of lifestyle, and it's completely okay. It's better to realize that before wasting yours and someone else's time and money. Choosing to remain single and without kids shouldn't be seen as something depressing or a sign of a failure. People can be completely fine and happy without that. And as a 25 years old man that thought in his childhood that with adulthood and age comes true love, a significant other to marry and children. Oh, my stars. I want absolutely nothing to do with that anymore. And I don't think I'll regret that decision for a good while. I'm so happy and free by myself that I wouldn't trade that no matter what. I mean, at least I won't selfishly bring life into this world for a happy adulthood experiment. People aren't honest and some people are mean just to be cruel. Your company isn't really your family. Any company that says they're your family is just bullshitting to get you to work hard for less money. Don't ever trust those fuckers. My boss keeps saying that we are a family in my group. I know his intentions are good, but I just can't buy into that corporate family stuff. I doubt we are a family if layoffs come rolling around. Realizing there's no such thing as karma. Sometimes bad people win and never face consequences. Not only that, but how often being an asshole and generally bad person actually gets someone way farther. I hate that this is true. Sociopaths are sociopaths for a reason. I mean the way they behave, not the way they are born or something. Each birthday as you get older is no longer unlocking a new social privilege or gaining more independence, but instead another year closer to what? Retirement. Death. Around 21 to 22. Birthdays go from this awesome thing to some yearly depressing day that gets worse every year. What do you mean Santa is not real? Santa is real. The whole Santa's not real narrative is a ploy by big gifts and big wrapping paper to make us buy their stuff instead of letting Santa deliver us gifts for free. Wake up sheeple. This is the only time in my life I will upvote this comment. Nepotism in action. Your children are their own people, and even if you love them 110% and raise them the best you can, they can still grow up to be a deplorable and detestable person who does disgusting and horrible things to people. Or to put it another way, I could quote some Star Trek's Jane Luck-Picard. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness. That is life. Bad things will be done to and happen to good people for no reason. Just as great and good things will be done to and happen to horrible people. There is no rhyme or reason to it. Edit changed her name because PPL thought I was talking about a show and not a character in a show. There's no win condition. You get good grades and do well in sports, good military papers, get a degree, then a job, and so on and so forth. Put in effort, see results. Love, if you're lucky. One day you realize that life has started taking, not giving, that you're on the downslope. Your efforts do not buy results, but respite, and that the best you can hope for is to stave off the inevitable. And, when it comes, that the end will be merciful and not completely undignified. Thanks for the existential crisis. Realizing that your country is not really the country that you learned about in history class, except when you are German. We were totally the bad guys and we learn every bit of it. I admit that it can be crushing. And sadly it doesn't help as well as people thought, trying to not let history repeat itself. But hey, at least we learn about it early, and not at some random point. In fact, I have unintentionally shocked people from other countries by mentioning atrocities of their country's past. I assumed they knew. They didn't. Finding out your college degree doesn't guarantee you a job, or in contrast, getting a degree and a job related to the degree, and living an entirely unfulfilled life. That people suck and that not all of them have feelings of guilt/empathy. Finding out that cashews aren't actually a nut, but the dried stem of the cashew fruit. I was 19 when I found out after I moved to Brazil, and it blew my mind. Actually, as a Brazilian person, it blew my mind when I went to live abroad to find out that nobody knows what the cashew fruit looks like, and the funny part is that the cashew nut is actually the subproduct. We in fact grow the cashews mainly for the fruit, to make juice, mostly, but it is not very broadly exported.